Coach Deerick Smith. Just want to start off. So, like, everybody in here is like super passionate, and I like coaching football. I love strength and conditioning. All right, so I got the job because I like coaching football. I got the job of coaching football, but I love strength and conditioning. I like coaching football. So, like, you guys are super passionate about scheme and super passionate about your offense or whatever it may be. This is like what I'm super passionate about, and this is like my kind of what I enjoy doing. So today we're just going to look at, like the coach said, if you have any strength and conditioning questions, feel free to ask whatever. Today we're just going to kind of look at some different ideas when it comes to football conditioning and football speed training. And then here just kind of leads into it. It's what we've always done. We're going to kind of look at the things we've always done and see, is that actually really the best way to go about it. If you need my contact info, let's see if it blows up here. My phone number is 870-613-0075. You can always shoot me a text, give me a call. And my email is deerick.smith@southsideschools.org. And I always start like each presentation real quick. Kind of what strength and conditioning is, what kind of strength and conditioning isn't, so we'll go through this pretty quick. What strength and conditioning is not is a place to create mental toughness through brutality. So all I mean by that is like, do your kids fear you or do you respect you? Or do they respect you? Our kids work hard for us because they respect us, not because I come in, kicking the door down, oh, you're a soft ass, you're this, you're this. And that works, people do that, it's fine. This is just kind of the way we go about it. Because I said so. So I encourage our kids to ask why. And I ask why on like everything I do. I ask why. Why am I doing this? And then I'll try and prove myself wrong on certain ideas or find different ways about doing things before I implement them or before I look more into it. So know your why or don't do it is kind of my stance on that. And kids want to know why, especially now. Coach Lee said something the other day. He said I was the oldest millennial he knows or something. But like, I remember playing in college. Me and Drake played together, and Coach would tell Drake to do something, and Drake would just do it. I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? You know what I mean? I'd be thinking inside, what's the point? Why am I doing that? So that's where kids have kind of gone to nowadays. They want to know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and that's perfectly fine. One size fits all. So we had a lot of kids, took over a lot of kids that a couple of them had different back issues, and I could have sat there and been a hard A and said, oh, he's just being soft. He needs to get under a bar and do some heavy-ass squats or whatever. But bottom line is he had some back issues, so we worked around with the kids we had and what little ailments they had. And then a dungeon, this is more for like getting other sports involved in the weight room. So if you got multi-sport athletes that say are basketball or baseball, and then the basketball coach is apprehensive about kind of sending his guys over or sharing athletes, if you'll get away from that dungeon mentality of the weight room. Like, personally for me, I would love to walk into a weight room, freaking heavy metal music playing, chalk flying in the damn air, and everybody going berserk.
Hell yeah.
But if I want to get volleyball in the weight room, that's not what's going to do it. So just kind of make your weight room an open place for everybody. And then what strength and conditioning is, it's a place to build self-confidence. I want our athletes to leave the weight room or leave our school, leave our program, and you can look at it as being arrogant, whatever. I want to be the most confident person on the planet. So when they go to a damn job interview, 5, 10, whatever years from now, they're going in with the mindset of, I hope I get this job. They're going in with the mindset, this is my damn job. Whoever else is in here better find another one because this was mine. And that's the kind of attitude I want to create. Place to slow cook, take your time. Like I tell our junior high kids all the time, I don't care how strong you are. It is irrelevant how strong you are in junior high. It does not matter to me. We'll get you strong when you get to senior high. So take your time. When I was at Batesville, we had a kid, our best starting O-lineman, he was a sophomore. He couldn't do a damn push-up. Couldn't do one. But he was our best O-lineman by far, and they did a good job slow cooking him up. And he actually went to a school in Mississippi, transferred, and played like 8-man. But if he'd have stayed in like a big program, he'd have done some big things. A place to teach, that just goes back to know your why or don't do it. I think a lot of times people like just kind of write stuff on the board and don't know how to actually teach that lift. They've just seen someone else do it and they think, oh, that's a good lift, we'll add that in. Put stuff in the program that you can coach. So like there's no rule that says you have to back squat, or you have to front squat, or you have to plane, or you have to do all these things that all these other programs do. There's probably a simpler way that you can do it that you know how to coach and do it that way. So keep it simple in that regard and know how to coach the little nuances of each thing. A place of competition, I seen this on Twitter a couple of years ago, and it just talked about how we need to create, like society has gotten soft nowadays, and I get it. It has, but that's also a good thing in a way, because nowadays if you show up on time, do things right, and work your butt off, you're not the normal, you're the extraordinary. And so if you can put kids out in the workforce, the job force, or places that do that, then now they've become the exception instead of the norm, and everybody else has been a soft day. And then a place to establish a sense of urgency. Our kids know, and me and Coach Simpson sat down before off season, and like the year before we'd start at, when they got done getting dressed at 2:30, or this next day it may be 2:31, or this next day may be 2:28. But now we've made a guideline, we're starting at 2:29, and I don't care what your excuse is for being late, you're late. And we're going to handle it accordingly if you are. I mean, we hadn't had hardly any lates since that. And a lot of that was on our end. We'd be in the office talking during prep period or whatever, and then that's not looking good on us. You know, we can't be hammering them about being on time when we're rolling out of the office. Just got done discussing who knows what. And so a place to establish a sense of urgency. Common misconceptions in strength and conditioning. More is better. So I'll go more into this later, but I was listening to a podcast the other day and talking about the LA Dodgers, and one of the things they did when they increased their batting average so much is their guys used to basically get 500 hits in the cage, and then they decided they were going to restrict it to 100, and their batting average jumped, like, I don't know much about baseball, but it jumped a bunch because they cut their reps by 4/5. And then the reps they did get were a hell of a lot better instead of just mindless swinging, mindless, practice. Sport-specific training is a lie, and we'll go into that. But if you think you need a freaking basketball-specific program, or a softball-specific program, or a damn golf-specific program, it's a damn lie. All athletes need to push, all athletes need to pull, all athletes need to be able to change direction, they need to be conditioned. And so especially with the high school athlete, every one of them is going to benefit from getting stronger, faster, and less susceptible to injury. It doesn't matter what sport they play. Women should train differently than men. Like I said, sometimes I talk at clinics with more than just football, so we'll roll through some of this fast. But basically, like, for years it's been thought that women need to be treated like a delicate flower in the weight room, and they need to do all these different lifts that the guys don't do. Our volleyball girls train exactly like our football guys do, except they just do it 2 days a week instead of 3 to 4. And that's the only difference. They front squat, they clean, they do all that. And women are 6 times more likely to have a knee injury than guys, so there's literally plenty of benefit in them getting strong and getting in the weight room. Strength is the only measure of improvement, and I'm guilty of this as much as anybody. When I first started, we got to get strong, we got to get strong, we got to get strong. But I looked at that as the only gauge of improvement. I didn't look at did we get faster. I didn't look at are we more mobile. I didn't look at are we more confident. And so strength is a measure of improvement. Yeah, it's fun. It's a great measure of improvement. I love it. But there's a lot more to it besides that. Number 5, what does work for me will work for them. So a lot of times as coaches think that, oh, well, I did this, so it's fine for the kids to do this. Or I did this, so it worked, it's good for the kids to do it. I think back to an athlete I had at Blytheville, and I had been using like a squat program myself. So before I do anything with the kids, number 1, I try it myself, and number 2, I study the hell out of it. And I had been using this particular program on myself, and it worked just fine. Saw some great results, all my numbers went up, and I thought it was the best program on earth. But implemented it with those kids at Blytheville, and we had a kid basically cramp up for like 3 days after, and I just thought, oh, he's not taking care of his body, he's being a soft day. But what I didn't know is I did that program, and I ate 6 freaking meals that day. And he did that program, and he left and he went to work till 11, and then he went home to a house without electricity, and he went home to a house without food, and then, well, hell no wonder he couldn't recover. And I could, because I had things I took for granted that he didn't. So understand your kids' scenarios a lot of times. I think that's huge. And like I said, now sometimes it is there being a soft day, without a doubt. And you can kind of use your judgment to make that decision. But a lot of times it isn't. And then kids have changed. To me, kids have not changed in terms of kids will still work hard. Kids will still do the right thing. It's just what motivates them has changed considerably. So kids used to show up, bring their lunch pail, go to work, not want any recognition. That's awesome. I love those kids. But a lot of kids today have changed and they want to work hard, but they also want to tell you they're working hard. Or they want to do this, but they also want to tell you they're doing this. And to me, that's fine. We just got to get with the times and kind of change along with them. And then those lunch pail kids, like I said, they're awesome. And we're glad to have those ones too. And then I get a lot of questions, a lot of times, how are your kids so bought in? How are your kids so bought in? Number one, Coach Simpson's awesome and does an awesome job shaping the program overall. And then number two, they're bought in because we've made it somewhere they want to be. It's not, we come in and, oh, you're a P or you're a lazy A, or we come in and we're hyping them up and we've made it somewhere they want to be. All right, before we get started, I put a quote here from Michael Boyes, one of the best strength and conditioning guys on the planet. Now, I will say, like, if you kind of start researching his stuff, understand he's dealing with professional athletes. We're dealing with guys who 2 months ago couldn't walk and chew gum. So, be careful how you implement his stuff, but he does have some good stuff. He was a strength coach for the Boston Red Sox, and they were awesome. And he's just a good guy. Has some good material. But one of his quotes was, I just don't know why as coaches we can't just say, wow, I was wrong about that. And I think, especially me early on, like, I thought there was only one way to do things. That was the way I had done it. And as far as strength and conditioning, and any other way was wrong. And now I began to open my mind and look more into it. There's 500 different ways to do things. And today we're going to talk about kind of some of the ways we do, and then some of the old ways that maybe they do work, but maybe there's a better way to do it. And number one, so are you strength and conditioning to get in shape, or are you conditioning to get in shape, or are you conditioning for your ego? And there's a guy I know, Coach Simpson, is not big on him, but I've read a lot of his stuff, and I've started to get some good things from him. Tony Holler, the Feed the Cats guy, awesome in terms of like speed training and all that stuff. But he has a quote that says, 100% healthy and 80% in shape is what he wants his kids, instead of 100% in shape and 80% healthy. So basically his concept on that is, and I fully believe this, and a lot of you guys may feel the same, we'll see, but like, we can condition the hell out of our kids, but those first 2 games, they're still going to get tired, no matter what. The only way to get in game shape is to play the damn game. And so, yeah, we can cut into that difference a little bit by running in the summer and by conditioning, but no matter what, those first 2 games, there's going to be some issues in terms of conditioning where you got to catch up. And so, like I feel the only way to truly get in game shape is to play the game. And then don't judge the success of your conditioning program on athletes being in shape on if they puke or if they don't puke. Number one, just because a kid pukes doesn't mean he's out of shape. One of our running backs would have tested this. He may have had a long night the night before, and that could be why he's puking the next morning. So, all right, real quick, we're just going to look at, so I played in college, Drake played in college, lots of people here played in high school, college, and one of the number one things we did was run 110s. We lined up, we ran 110s, we were building mental toughness by running 110s, and it's just what people do. But let's look at what are 110s and then what is football. So 110s, it's highly aerobic, all right? Football is highly anaerobic, so they're 2 different things, all right? You look at 110s, and it's a sub-maximal effort. Now, we can preach our kids, give your maximum effort every time, do this, do that. But the bottom line is if I'm a coach and I give my skill players 16 seconds to run a 110, well, for half of them, that's going to be hard, and they're going to have to push it to run it in that time limit. But for the dude who's bad at it, he can run 70%, 65%, and make that time. And so, are they truly getting in game shape by running sub-maximally when in a game they're going to run full speed? And then 110s are 14 to 18 seconds. I've watched a lot of football. There's very few plays that are 14 to 18 seconds. All right, now let's look at football. It's a max effort sport. It's highly anaerobic. There has never been a football play that I'm aware of that was 110 yards and 14 to 18 seconds. And then 110 football, 4 to 6 seconds. The average play falls in that time window. It's like 5.2 plus or minus 1 the other way. And so we look at that, there's quite a big difference in what 110s are and what football is. And this is not saying if you run 110s you're wrong, this is just looking at it at different ways. And this, I don't do any studies, I'm not a scientist, but trust me, these guys will test you. My math is terrible.
He's good at math.
We went to the casino a couple last year, and I laid some bet down or whatever, and I was thinking, hell, I'm going to win $500. And Simpson was like, do you know how much you're going to win? I was like, yeah, I'll probably win $500. He's like, no, it's going to be a hell of a lot more than $500. They could have handed me $500 and I'd been, appreciate it, man, let's get the hell out of here. And they just took on a hell of a lot more. So, with that regard, I listen to people that do these studies and implement it. I let them do the work, and I learn from people a hell of a lot smarter than me. And this is from a strength coach at the University of Massachusetts, and they basically had several of their position groups wear like these GPS trackers that tracked what actually happened in a game in terms of distance and all that. And at cornerback, their starting cornerback in their game against Rutgers, he had 254 high-speed yards. That's it. So he had 254 max effort yards at cornerback, which is one of the positions that probably runs the most in football. Now, total yards, he had 7,000. But that's including every single thing he did when he had that on. That's including when he was walking on the sideline. That's including when he was jogging off the field. That's including when he was in warm-ups. That's including he walked 8,000 yards that day, basically. He ran 254 yards at full speed in the game. So that right there kind of shows you what actually happens in the game is not, 110s really necessarily don't help with that a lot. And this PowerPoint, if you guys want it, just feel free, I'll send it to you. So thinking outside the box, with that being said, quarterbacks only run 254 yards in a game. So why would I have them do things that don't really correlate with that? You don't have O-line working freaking DB drills in practice. That Tony Holler guy, again, sorry, Coach Simpson, but he has some good stuff. One of his favorite quotes is, you can't plant beans to grow corn. So again, are we really helping ourselves conditioning if we're doing something that doesn't carry over? You don't go to a doctor to fix your car. Like we talked about, the average football play is 5.6 seconds, plus or minus 2 seconds either way. And so, yeah, that's great. 110s aren't that great, whatever. What else can we do? I'm going to show you a thing I picked up at a strength clinic this past winter that carries over a lot better to football. And so football has a clock. Everybody knows that, basically. So if you're hurry up, you're getting about 20, 25 seconds. If you're shotgun wing T or ground and pound, you're getting 30 to 35 seconds. But basically, football, to simple it down, is 5 seconds work, and then whatever your rest period is. All right? That's what it is. And one of the best things, these guys are a hell of a lot smarter than me, and it requires literally no equipment. And everybody, when they went over this test at the clinic, literally sat there with their mouth open like, I'm an idiot, how did I never think of this? And it's just fascinating how they came up with it, and it's super simple. And it's called the tribe test. So let me get a marker.
I have one if you'd like one.
I got one, Coach. I came prepared.
Yep. That's why it's in your military bag.
That's not a military bag.
At least he remembered his bag today.
And I did not come up with this. Like I said, I stole it from someone who was smarter than me. The strength and conditioning staff at William and Mary came up with it, and they got some dudes that do a hell of a job. And I'm not an artist either. All right, but to simply explain this tribe test, the first one anyway, basically say me and Coach Kelly are partners, all right? And I'm going to be the sprinter, he's going to be the spotter. And what we would do is me and Coach Kelly would be, or I'd be here on the goal line, I'm the sprinter, Coach Kelly's going to be down here as a 20. And I got 5 seconds, thank you, Coach. I got 5 seconds to get to the goal line, to the 20, and then as far back as I can, all right? So I got 5 seconds to cover that much ground. Very few people are genetically gifted to get all the way back past the goal line. If they do, you can wrap up what you're doing, you're probably going to win a hell of a lot of games. All right? So I got 5 seconds to get as far as I can, and then Coach Kelly's going to mark where I got to. So we got 5 seconds. Bam, whistle started. I'm running, I've ran. I touched the 20, I touched the direction, and I came back. Boom, 5 seconds. Wherever coach blows the whistle at, the spotter puts the cone down. And then I get my football rest period, whatever it may be, according to your offense, of what you run, or according to the offense you see a lot of, however you want to do it. I get that rest period. So now my kids are used to that rest period, and now I've got that rest period, and I'm running another rep trying to beat my cone. I'm running another rep trying to beat my cone. I'm running another rep trying to beat my cone. Eventually, you're not going to beat your cone. You bump that cone back. Where'd you get to that time? Then I try and beat that marker. I'll beat that marker a few times. Then I bump that back. And the way they organized it was they basically run 13 to 14 to 15 reps of it and simulate a long drive. Because your kids, now, we're at the high school level, we got kids going 2 ways a lot of times. So, but their whole premise was you're basically fully recovered between drives. Now, if you got high school kids that play 2 ways, they're not going to be fully recovered, so you may want to add a little more volume to it. But that was one of their ways they went about it. And the whole premise behind it is I'm giving a kid a marker to beat now, not just a number to make. So I'm not trying to make a time, I'm trying to beat a certain marker. And to me, that's a big deal. Like, talk back to when me and Coach played together. I could make the times, but I was running them sub-maximum as to where, say, Coach Widener may be freaking giving everything he has to make that time, all right? And now I'm giving the kid who can make that time by just kind of loafing, now I'm giving him something he has to be. And so that helps a lot. And like I said, it's football related, 5 seconds of work, play clock or rest. And then we played with some different variations of it. Same concept, you're on the goal line, you're going, but now instead of going to the 20, you're going to the 5, back to the goal line, then sprinting through the 20. The 20 is now your end mark. All right, so now you've added 3 change of directions, and that would be kind of more applicable if you want to do that with like your skill players, because they change of direction a lot more than say like a lineman do. You know, I got some video examples of those. Let's see if they pop up.
So the spotter is not doing anything for the 14 or whatever reps?
Yeah, the spotter's just spotting. And then you would switch, and then so I get my testing done. Now Coach Kelly's going to go, and I'm going to spot.
How many reps did you start out with?
We're not doing it yet because we're not going to start conditioning yet. But when we start, we'll start with 12.
You probably start this fall camp or whatever.
Yeah, we probably start in like July. Maybe a little before.
You could probably, like you were saying, simulating a drive and the rest between the drive, you could have partner up like an offensive player with a defensive player.
Yeah.
So that way they're getting, you know what I mean?
That's a really good idea. Yeah. All right, here's just an example. We'll see if it works. I took our 7th graders out. They had to kind of be our lab rats the other day. So you can see here he's got his marker. That's where he ran to the first time. Now that's what he's trying to beat. And then his spotter will adjust that marker based off where he got to.
You adjusted every rep?
Yeah, yep. So if you beat it, yeah. So say you run your first one, that's your mark. I run my second one, I just smoked it by a foot. You bump it up. to where they got to. If you don't make it there, you bump it back. Yep. And what they showed was, they talked about how they went a lot more detail into it than I did. But they ran the test, like this, so they have 15 strength coaches, so they can do it themselves. But then they had the kids run the test, and there was basically only like 6 inches of difference overall in the results. So they said, why the hell would we not just have the kids do it, and then we can coach during the test. And then here's an example of the modified drive test. Videos aren't very great right now. But there's, you can see you got your 3 change of directions, then you're back through that third column. And so a lot of times I think like, we got to differentiate, are we speed training or are we conditioning? Because if you sit there and try and do both, you're not going to truly get anywhere. You're just going to maybe get a little bit better conditioning, but you're sure as hell not going to get faster. And so I saw this the other day, and they said basically treat speed training like oil and vinegar if they were one of those science tubes. What are those called, Coach Edwards? Yeah, whatever. One of those. So think of speed training that way. If I can't mix them, because all they're going to do is separate. And so we need to keep them separate.
So
like I said,
Deerick, so how do you separate it, how do you lay it out?
So this summer, we're going to do speed training on Monday, Thursday, conditioning on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, okay. You might have said that.
We'll start with just speed training, Monday, Thursday, no conditioning, but once we go to conditioning, it's going to be Tuesday.
Gotcha.
All right, like we talked about rest periods. So in conditioning, if you want to implement that William and Mary tribe test deal or that kind of football-specific conditioning, like I said, I don't believe in position or sports-specific lifting in terms of I need to swing a fake heavy baseball bat to get better at baseball, or I need to slam a weighted volleyball to get better at volleyball. I don't believe in that, but I do believe in sports-specific conditioning, and you can help in that regard. So, rest periods comparing speed training to conditioning. Rest periods, if you're conditioning, make them like a game. That's what we're trying to do is play a damn game. So let's make our rest periods like a game. Speed training, you're basically going to want 1 minute of rest for every 10 meters that is actually sprinted. All right? I'm, like I said, far from a mathematician, so I just treat meters as yards. It's a little bit off, but it's pretty damn close. All right? And so if we're doing a speed training of 40 yards, then we're going to rest 3 to 4 minutes, more towards the 4. All right? Basically 40 yards, 40 meters. Like I said, there's a little difference there, but for my simple math, that's how we do it. And then for true speed training to take place, it has to be done at 95% or above of their speed. So if I got a guy that runs a 4.7240, for him to actually be speed training, he needs to run a 4.9640 in that rep. And so, like I said, that's not for me. I learned from people a hell of a lot smarter than Coach Smith. That's from Charlie Francis. He knows quite a bit about making people run fast. And so in order to do that, I got to give them adequate rest. I can't give a kid a rep and then we're lining up and running another speed training rep 10 seconds later. I got to give them an adequate amount of time to recover. So think of speed training as like a maximum effort event. Because they're having to give max effort to truly speed train, I wouldn't have my kid squat 95% of his back squat max and then give him 10 seconds and hey, time to squat 95% of your back squat max again. It's not going to happen.
How often do you speed train?
So this is an area where I have lagged as a coach, and like I said when I first started, weight room. We're going to get strong. Speed training will take care of itself, and that does have help to a regard. For example, we can take a number 2 pencil out to do some speed training. He's not going to get any damn faster if he has no basic strength. And so there is some correlation there, but it does help.
So does this translate also to something like, like plyometric training or to power clean, like lifts that are requiring, explosive movement that would be, similar to a sprint in a amount of time or something had?
Yeah, so like, some things we do kind of like that, is on our cleans, we never do more than 4 reps in a set, ever, for the most part. And so a lot of our cleans will be programmed like 4-3-2-2 or 4-3-2-2-1. And we're very minimal reps, but the reps we are getting are a lot better, and it gives them plenty of time to rest instead of having to be tired and execute those reps. Volume in terms of speed training and conditioning. Conditioning, like I said, 12 to 14 reps, just like a game, just like a drive in a game. If you got a lot of two-way guys, you want to do more than 12 to 14 reps because it's not going to be long before they have to go back out on the field or on the court or whatever it may be. And then speed training, until that 95% threshold isn't reached. Generally for high school kids, that's 5 to 6 reps of max effort, max intensity sprinting. They can only generally get that about 5 to 6 times. Now, to do that, we started timing a lot of our stuff. We do it with a stopwatch. Those of y'all that have bigger budgets, I highly recommend the free lap timing system. It literally does it for you. And the cool thing about that is, say I'm a lineman and I run a 5-3-2 on the stopwatch. Well, that 5-3 is probably fairly accurate, but that 1/100th of a second could be my error as a coach. You know what I mean? But if I run a 5-3-2 on that free lap, then the next time, a week from now, I run a 5-3-1, I got 1/100th of a second faster, 100% for sure. And so those things are kind of awesome if you can get one of those. We don't, so we're gonna use a stopwatch. And you kind of asked about this, Coach Austin. I'm going to hurry through this, but that applies to your speed training, not like your mechanics drills. So your mechanics drills, they don't need that big of a rest period. Your technique drills, they don't need that big of a rest period. You can hammer those out, I mean, really in a sense, however you want. Plyometrics, obviously you can do more than 1 rep at a time, but you still want to give them some rest period in between. All right, this is a quote from Louisiana Tech strength coach, so if you don't like it, get mad at him, not at me, I just kind of like it, all right? Side note, he's a little bit of a psychopath, but he does some good stuff. Louisiana Tech's put more people in the NFL, more below talent people in the NFL than of all the group of 5 schools, and so he does an awesome job. This is his quote, all right, not mine. The agility ladder video king needs to be strangled with an agility ladder until his quick little feet no longer flip. All right? And basically what he was getting at is, I can dance around an agility ladder all I want. That's not helping my speed. Because foot speed does not equal on the field speed. Force equals on the field speed. If I can produce force, then I can produce speed on the field. And there's a woman's track coach out of Texas the other day, and it was one, like I said, super simple, but she was trying to get her kids to understand that. And one of the videos on here, but it's grainy, so I'll just skip it. But basically, she had a ball in her hand, all right? And she was like, this is what y'all want to do. You're just wanting to pick your leg up. You're not wanting to put force down. And so she was way down here and barely dropped the ball, and of course, it barely bounces up. But then she started talking about how we wanted to put force in the ground, force in the ground, force in the ground, and be intentional when you strike the ground. And she slammed the hell out of the ball, and then obviously the ball bounced a lot higher. So you get a lot more return the more force you put in the ground, not how quick you can dance around a damn ladder. And then that's basically it for the speed training and the conditioning. And just like I said, I like to look at things that make me question things, make me look at different stuff. And I came across a thing the other day. And now I am a football coach, so I fully support and think that you do not need to have your knees on your hands like this in terms of when you're on the field. If we see a team that does that, we're about to attack their ass. But if we're doing speed training and I want my kids to maximally recover, and this is how they go to it, like in college they used to tell, hands above your head, there's no oxygen down there. And I would think to myself, shit, I feel a hell of a lot better right here. Or I feel a hell of a lot better right here than I do way the hell up here. All right? Well, somebody smarter than me decided, hey, we're going to look at this and see how do you actually recover better. And the study's on here while we're at it. These 2 guys do it. and they're not soft, and they're pretty damn good competitors, or were. All right, and they do it quite frequently. Now, like I said, I'm not jumped off the deep end saying we need to do that in games, but the science behind it showed you recovered significantly better when breathing like this, recovering, than you did if you were like this. Scientists looked at it, they analyzed the data, and they proved that. Now, like I said, I'm not jumping off the deep end, and I will freak out, as will Coach Simpson or anybody else in here, if they see their kids like that in the game. But if we're speed training or we're conditioning off the field, not during a game, and that's how they want to recover to give me max effort on the next rep, then I'm all for it. And that's basically it, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions in terms of like weight room programming, anything we do, I'll gladly share it with you. Feel free to reach out anytime, talk to me here. And then I just put like some recommended follows. These are guys I've learned a lot from on Twitter. Like I said, at PN Track, that's Tony Holler. He's the Feed the Cats guy. Now he goes a little off the deep end on some things, but he does have some good things that you can incorporate. At Challenger ST, if you got like sports you got to share with baseball, you got to share your athletes with baseball. The baseball coach thinks them getting in the weight room is the devil. Have them look at some of the stuff that guy does. He does some good stuff with baseball players. Coach Alan Bishop, he's the strength coach at the University of Houston men's basketball. If you got a basketball coach in that same regard, show him some of the stuff. Some of the stuff I like that he does is he just posted a guy the other day just doing a damn deadlift, and he put basketball specific training, kind of trying to be a smart ass towards the basketball specific trainers. So he trains these guys just like all of us train our guys. Master Elite, awesome for like Olympic lifting information. Coach HHED, she does a great job with the girls. Jason Spray, he's a strength coach at a high school in Tennessee. He actually was offered the Titan strength and conditioning job. He didn't do it, and he trains like Deerick Henry. He trains a bunch of guys, but he just likes coaching high school. And he coached D1 for a while, so he made some good money. Now he's probably just trying to kind of have a good time. MJP, Lance Walker, awesome for speed training stuff. M. Boyle, 1959, is the Michael Boyle guy. And then Louisiana Tech strength coach at Kirk Hester. He has some awesome stuff. Real quick story we'll end on. In his book, he talked about like how when he first got me and Coach Gould talked about this, how when he first got the job at Louisiana Tech on Squat Max Day, he tries to come up with something each year that amps the hell out of his kids. So the first year he comes in and he has one of his assistant coaches, and they come in late and they're dressed like wrestlers, and so he powerbombed one of his assistants through a damn table, got the kids amped up, and he was like, well, next year I got to top that. And then the next year he came in, broke all the old plow boxes. It was like a huge Thor hammer dressed as Thor. Then the third year he's like, shit, it's getting pretty tough, I got to top that. He came in, dressed as a SWAT member. I don't know how the hell they didn't get arrested. Had a bunch of blanks, like blank shotgun shells, kicked in the door, firing blanks in the weight room. Then the fourth year, he talks about it in his book, it's awesome, Branson Strength and Conditioning Madman. He went out in the bayou, got a freaking alligator, taped its mouth shut, kicked the weight room door open, throws the alligator on the floor of the damn weight room, and then stabs it in the head with a bayonet, and they go to Squat Max. So, pretty interesting guy. If you ever want to go down that rabbit hole, I highly recommend his book. And like all the proceeds go to Wounded Warriors or St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So he's a pretty badass guy. That's it, guys. Like I said, if you have any questions, like I said, if you're doing 110s, you ain't wrong. It's just I like to look at different ways to go about doing things and kind of analyze them that way. Appreciate it.